You wake up early, you work hard, you stay consistent. You do everything people told you would lead to success, and yet, something feels off. Your bank account does not reflect your effort. The harder you work, the more tired you become, but not richer. It feels like you are running forward while staying in the same place. This is the trap most people never notice. Hard work alone does not create wealth. It creates income, and income, by itself, is not enough. Because if every dollar you earn is tied to your time, you are stuck in a loop where more money always requires more effort, more hours, and more energy. You were taught that effort equals reward. But in reality, effort without direction leads to exhaustion. The system rewards leverage, not just labor. And if you only rely on your time to earn money, you will always hit a limit. There are only so many hours you can sell, no matter how disciplined you are. Look around you. There are people working less, yet earning more. Not because they are smarter or luckier, but because they understand something different. They are not trading time for money in the same way. They have built systems that continue to produce value even when they are not actively working. This difference is invisible at first. It does not show in daily routines. It shows in long-term results. One person keeps working harder to survive. The other builds something that works for them. And over time, that gap becomes impossible to ignore. The problem starts with how you think about money. If your first instinct is always to earn more instead of making your money work, you will stay stuck because you are focusing on input instead of output. You are adding effort instead of creating leverage. Leverage is the concept most people ignore. It is the ability to multiply results without multiplying effort. This can come from investments, businesses, or systems that keep producing value over time. Without leverage, you are always starting from zero each day. With leverage, yesterday's effort continues to pay you again and again. The danger is that working hard feels productive. It gives you a sense of control and progress. But if all your progress resets every day, you are not building wealth. You are maintaining your position. Real wealth comes from building things that grow even when you stop actively pushing them forward. Think about your current income. If you stopped working today, how long would it continue? For most people, the answer is simple. It stops immediately. That is the definition of a system without leverage. It depends entirely on your presence, your energy, and your time. This is why increasing your salary alone does not solve the problem. You can earn more, but if your structure stays the same, your dependence stays the same. More income might improve your lifestyle, but it does not create freedom. It only raises the level of the same cycle. Freedom starts when your money begins to work independently from your time. This is where investing becomes essential, not optional, because investing is how you convert earned money into working money. It is the bridge between effort and leverage. Most people delay this step. They tell themselves they will invest later, when they have more money. But this delay is costly, because time is the most powerful factor in growth. The earlier you start, the more your money compounds. The longer you wait, the more you lose without even noticing. The real issue is not lack of money, but lack of priority. People spend first and invest what is left, if anything remains. But in most cases, nothing remains. Life expands to consume everything you earn. Without a clear decision to invest first, your future gets whatever is left over, which is usually nothing. This pattern repeats silently for years. You earn, you spend, you reset. It feels normal because everyone around you does the same. But normal does not lead to wealth. It leads to survival. And survival, even with a decent income, keeps you dependent on your next paycheck. To break this cycle, you need to reverse the order. Investing must come before spending, not as an afterthought, but as a rule. The moment money enters your life, a portion must be redirected into something that can grow. This is how you begin shifting from effort-based income to growth-based income. At first, the change feels small. You might not notice any immediate difference. Your investments seem insignificant. The growth is slow, but this is where most people fail. They expect fast results from a process designed to work over time. When results do not appear quickly, they lose patience and stop. But patience is the entire game, because investing is not about quick rewards. It is about long-term multiplication. Small amounts, consistently invested, can grow into something significant, not because of luck, but because of time and discipline working together. The earlier you understand this, the more advantage you gain. Someone who starts small but early often surpasses someone who starts big but late. Time amplifies everything. It turns consistency into power. And once that process is running, it becomes very difficult to stop it. Now you begin to see the real shift. You are no longer just earning money. You are building momentum. Each investment adds a small push forward. Alone, it feels insignificant. Together, over time, it creates a force that starts moving your financial life in a completely different direction. This is where most people get distracted. They start comparing themselves to others. They look at faster gains, riskier moves, and sudden success stories, and they feel like they are missing out. But chasing shortcuts usually resets progress. It replaces steady growth with unpredictable outcomes. Wealth is not built on excitement. It is built on consistency. The same action repeated over and over, even when it feels boring. Especially when it feels boring. Because boring systems are stable. And stability is what allows growth to continue without interruption. You need to train your mind to value slow progress, because slow progress that continues will always beat fast progress that stops. This is the mindset shift that separates people who stay stuck from those who quietly move ahead year after year. At this point, your role changes. You are not reacting to money anymore. You are directing it. Every dollar has a job. Every decision has a purpose. And because of that, your financial life starts becoming predictable instead of chaotic. Predictability may sound boring, but it is powerful. It means you are no longer guessing. You are following a system. And systems, when repeated long enough, create results that feel almost automatic. This is where real control begins to appear. As your system continues, something subtle begins to change. You stop needing constant motivation. You no longer rely on bursts of energy to make good decisions. The process carries you forward, and when behavior becomes automatic, progress becomes consistent without feeling forced. This is the difference between people who try and people who build. Trying depends on mood. Building depends on structure. When your financial actions are tied to how you feel, results stay unstable. When they are tied to a system, results begin to stabilize and grow over time. You also begin to understand risk differently. Before, risk meant losing money. Now, risk means standing still, because not investing, not building, not creating leverage slowly erodes your future. It is quiet, but it is constant, and over time, it becomes far more damaging. This shift removes fear. You stop being afraid of the market, of investments, of uncertainty, because you realize the biggest danger is not action, but inaction. And once you see that clearly, moving forward becomes easier than staying where you are. Your focus sharpens. You stop chasing random opportunities. You stop jumping between ideas. Instead, you commit to a path and stay on it long enough for results to appear. This patience creates depth, and depth is where real growth happens. At this stage, your financial life becomes less emotional. Decisions are no longer driven by impulse or pressure. They are driven by logic and long-term thinking. And this calm approach protects you from the mistakes that usually destroy progress. Now you begin to see money in a completely different way. It is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you position. You place it where it can grow, where it can work, where it can multiply. This shift changes your entire relationship with wealth and removes the constant pressure to earn more. You also realize that effort is still important, but it must be directed. Hard work is powerful only when it builds something that lasts. If your effort disappears the moment you stop, it is incomplete. Real effort creates results that continue even when you are no longer pushing. At this point, you stop measuring success by how busy you are. Being busy does not equal being productive. You start measuring success by outcomes, by growth, by how much your system produces over time. This removes the illusion that constant activity means progress. Your identity begins to shift again. You are no longer just a worker. You become a builder, someone who creates assets, systems, and opportunities. And once you see yourself this way, your decisions naturally align with long-term growth instead of short-term comfort. This is where many people around you will not understand your choices. They will continue chasing quick money, quick results, and short-term satisfaction. And your slower, more controlled approach may seem strange to them, but over time, the results will speak louder than explanations. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are designing your path. Every decision moves you forward with intention, and while others stay in cycles they cannot see, you are quietly building something that becomes stronger with time. Eventually, the results become impossible to ignore. What once felt slow now shows clear progress. Your investments grow. Your income becomes less dependent on your time. And for the first time, you feel a sense of stability that is not tied to how hard you work today, but to what you have already built. This stability changes everything. Stress decreases. Decisions become clearer. You are no longer forced to act out of urgency. You can think long-term. And that ability alone creates better outcomes because you are no longer reacting under pressure, but choosing with intention. You also notice that opportunities come differently now. Because you have capital, even if it is small, you can act. You are not just watching. You are participating. And this participation opens doors that were always closed when you had no resources to move with. Momentum becomes your greatest advantage. Each step forward makes the next step easier. Each gain builds on the previous one. And over time, what started as a simple change in thinking turns into a powerful system that continues to expand. Without constant effort. Then the realization hits you. You were never poor because you lacked effort. You were poor because your effort was not creating leverage. You were working hard, but your work ended every day. And without continuation, there was no accumulation. The moment you shifted from earning to building, everything changed. You stopped starting over each day. You started stacking results. And once results begin stacking, time stops being your enemy and becomes your greatest ally. Most people will never reach this point because they never question the system they are in. They accept the idea that working harder is the only path. They keep pushing, keep trying, but never step back to see that the direction itself is flawed. And without changing direction, effort alone cannot create a different result. You chose a different path. Not louder, not more extreme, but more intentional. You stopped chasing more work and started building something that works. And that decision, simple as it seems, is what separates you from the cycle that keeps most people stuck. From here, your progress becomes a matter of time, not luck. You are no longer hoping for change. You are creating it. Every action adds to something that continues beyond today. And because of that, your future stops being uncertain and starts becoming predictable. There will still be moments where it feels slow, moments where you question if it is enough. But those moments do not control you anymore because you understand the process. You trust the system, and that trust keeps you moving forward when others stop. One day, you will look back and realize that the biggest change was not your income, it was your approach. You stopped trading time endlessly and started building leverage. And that single shift created a completely different financial reality. That is the truth most people never hear. You do not need to work harder to get rich. You need to work differently. Build systems, create leverage, invest consistently, and let time do its work. Because in the end, wealth is not about effort alone. It is about what your effort becomes.